So before we dive into the screen recordings, I really just wanted to kind of elaborate on what the mid-funnel process is, okay? I touched on it a little bit in previous lessons as well to kind of show you've got your top, middle, and bottom funnel, but you really need to understand again, like, and I can only reiterate this so many times, that this is not about closing the sale, okay? You've got to realize the potential impact on the internet, right? And let's just think about literally what the internet is, okay? Anybody can put up a website, anybody can tell you a product's available, and anybody can, you know, pretty much they can send you that product or they can not send you that product, right? Or they could take your information, they could take your credit card information, and I don't know, the internet has a lot of fraud on it is kind of the point of where I'm going with that, right? So this research phase is what that mid-funnel process is. And so many products that used to be just a one-click purchase, because of the internet and because of everything that's going on out there, they have to have, I don't care what product is, there is a research phase, right? You need the validation, you need to really understand that who I'm buying this product from, who I'm giving my credit card information to more appropriately, my address, all my contact, basically all my contact information, that they're a valid company and that they're going to use it in a valid way, right? Google does some really, really good jobs of making sure that you have policies, you have terms and conditions on there as well to kind of protect the advertiser. But, you know, honestly, they can put some stuff up and it can get through automated approval. So that's not 100%. And especially with, you know, Facebook out there and all these other platforms that allow you to get on there and just post things through mediums and forums and, you know, just actually basically blog posts, this validation phase has become so much more important to customers. And again, it's also going to help you increase the lifetime value of the customer because you're able to expose more of your products, expose more of your value points, and making sure that they're comfortable with your purchase. It'll also help you decrease your returns as well. Okay, so this is starting the research phase, and you're going to speak more to the value of the product and less to the call to the action. What are your value props of it? Who's buying it? Where are they buying it? What problems is it solving? And it's going to make your audience much more comfortable with purchasing your product. It's also going to make it much more easier to segment out your messaging and deliver on point and on message to the particular problems and pain points they're affecting, right? So how many touch points does it really take to sell your product? Depending on what the cost is, depending on, again, is it something that there is fly-by-night competitors, or is it something where your competition is validated brands that are deal? Are you going against Coca-Cola? Are you going against, you know, Johnson & Johnson out there who have very, very strong brands that are in there? So that's where this other, you know, mid-funnel kind of reaction comes in. You can also cut those touch points as far as the actual buying process by exposing true value within it without having to actually speak so much to the price or to the call to the action that's on there, right? We're not so much telling them, hey, buy your product here, talk about my website here. And that's the language that we're going to talk about within this lesson, within some of these screen recordings, that you can really key in on to make sure that your customers are very, very, you know, they're just comfortable with your product and they're out there as well to understand the value of it, right? This is where we're going to talk about the value points of your product, how they can convey that, how it's going to solve their pain points. And the more impact we can make at this particular stage, the more likely are to buy your product and move further down the funnel, but also even go out and tell your friends. Because just because it's whatever we're talking about within the ad, yeah, it may partially solve their particular pain point, but it may completely solve somebody else's pain point that they're in contact with. So talking about this and increasing the value and increasing, you know, the validation of the need for their product in the marketplace and basically the problem that it's going to solve for them is really what this mid process is about, right? You're going to do this through remarketing. I've talked about doing it with smart shopping, some smart display, but you know, the language is definitely going to be much different through this section. And as we go down through it, I'm going to show you through the screen recordings, you know, exactly what we can basically take effect and exactly how you're going to kind of change up your lingo and change up your language and even your strategy through this mid funnel and varying the content. And also, we're also going to touch on, you know, how many times you should actually be in front of them. How many times can you put the message in front of somebody before it becomes redundant or they just scroll past it? Just like I talked about in the top of funnel as well, your message can be beat into somebody, for lack of a better phrase, where it doesn't matter how far you pull them off that running path, they're just going to get freaking annoyed. That's all it is, right? So we're going to talk about basically scaling back some of the impression rate. You can even scale back, your exposure on your clicks, how many times if somebody clicks on it, they're re-exposed to the ad. But that's where we're going to kind of talk about this and deep dive into some of those settings that I kind of spoke about in the dive in section. But now we're going to go much more granular and get much more into the strategic methodology of actually making them work. So again, we increase your conversions, we save you money, and obviously we touch and increase the efficiency and value prop of your product, right? If we do all three of those things in one, all it's going to do is make sure there's more money that's returned back in your pocket. You improve ROI, and again, the quality of the experience, the one thing that I need to really touch on as well, is that's something Google is going to reward. So your costs are going to go down while you're increasing your ROI. So let's jump into these screen recordings so we can really deep dive and make sure you can understand the value of mid-funnel and you can really conquer it in an effective way.